Listen to a lecture given by Dr. Pendleton to students on a business administration course and answer questions 1 to 6.
Hello. This afternoon I'm going to begin by outlining some of the main changes that have occurred in the labour market and in working practices over the last 20 years. One of the most significant changes has been the vast move, especially in industrialised countries, from manufacturing to service industries. Although this has freed many people from heavy and repetitive work in factories, many people find their work in service industries equally boring and just as badly paid. Another important change has been that most people no longer expect to spend most of their working lives with the same company or organisation. As a result, people set themselves objectives which they work towards, and they use the various jobs they do and the different companies they work for as steps towards these objectives. For individual workers, I think this has helped them become more independent and given them more control over their lives. In most companies, the management team has become less hierarchical. This is often called downsizing or delayering. In other words, there are fewer managers and fewer levels of management. As a result, there are not so many opportunities for promotion, and people often feel frustrated because they find themselves at the same level for many years without the chance to rise in the company. Competition from new products and from different parts of the world means that nowadays companies have to adapt very fast to changing markets, and this requires them to be very flexible. Increasingly, this means they don't employ workers directly, but employ other small specialist companies or individuals to do the job when they need them. This means they don't have the expense of employing workers when they don't need them. I believe that for workers who are subcontracted, there are various gains. They're often better paid for the work they do. They work in smaller, more human organisations, and they're able to organise their working lives in ways which suit them, instead of having to fit into the routines of a large company. Of course, the biggest areas of change have come with the technological revolution. Workers now have the chance to go job hunting on the World Wide Web, so they have more opportunities to find better or more suitable jobs. Statistics show that generally people work much harder than in the past, with much longer hours. New technologies are largely responsible for this, especially mobile phones and beepers or pagers. These things force employees to stay in contact with their offices even in their free time and at weekends. I think this is a pity, as people need to be able to relax and have time for themselves. Another effect of technological change is that jobs evolve very rapidly, and workers have to be continually going on training courses in order to remain employable. As a university teacher, I can hardly complain about this, but it can place an enormous strain on workers if they're obliged to retrain for jobs well into their late 50s when they're getting close to retirement. So I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Before you listen to the second part of the lecture, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen to the rest of the lecture and answer questions 7 to 10.
New technology and global competition have, between them, meant that the life cycle of products isn't nearly as long as it used to be. This has had a profound effect on companies and on the way we work. In order to cope with sudden changes in the market, companies need much greater flexibility from their staff. As a result, large numbers of tenured or permanent jobs have disappeared. Apart from university lecturers like myself, few people can expect nowadays to have a job for life, and temporary short-term employment has become the norm for many people. However, we have to be positive. One wonderful change which has come out of the technological revolution is the opportunity for office workers to telecommute, that is, for them to work from home with their computer and their modem. This enables them to organise their working lives around their families and cut out the long journeys to and from work, which are the bane of most office workers' lives.
Section 2. You'll hear a talk about the waste collection in Baltimore. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Hi folks, my name is Loretta Johnston and I'm here from the Baltimore Department of Public Waste. Thank you for coming out to our community meeting tonight. I've got a few words to say about the waste collection here in Baltimore. First, there's the sorted collection bins themselves. They're made of sturdy, solid material, so none of your trash can seep out or puncture the bin. Also, since these things sit out on the curb overnight, rain or shine, they have to be waterproof. We can't have water getting up in it and filling up the bin. Remember to pay attention to which bin is which and sort your waste accordingly. You should have a blue or green bin for recyclable garbage, a yellow bin for unrecyclable garbage, and a red bin for toxic waste. Our citywide waste management is divided into two services. The first is commercial waste collection, or trash collection from buildings. The majority of building waste is paper, which goes in the blue or green bins. You'll notice in your office buildings there are signs that warn you not to overfill these bins. All that paper adds up, and an overflowing bin is infinitely harder for collectors to carry to the truck and empty. Aside from paper, another large source of building waste is metals. Metals such as tin and aluminium can be put in the yellow recycle bins, but metals like lead and copper should be disposed of in the red bins. These heavy metals are harmful to the environment and exacerbate our city's existing pollution problem. That's about all the information you need for building waste. Moving on to the second service, household waste collection is probably what you primarily think of when you think of what we do here. Many of the same guidelines apply, the sorting is the same, etc. Please remember to keep garbage like kitchen waste in a plastic bag. It makes collection easier and lessens the abominable rotten trash smell.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
So, after we take your trash away, what happens to it? We take all the garbage to one of a number of garbage disposal plants. each of which is located in the middle of an open space of some sort. No one wants to have their home or office right next door to a waste disposal plant, right? Waste is collected and then disposed of once every 4 weeks. A lot of trash can build up in that time, so we're in the process of developing a plan to fund collection more frequently. Ideally, it would be collected weekly, but we will likely have to settle for bi-weekly. The garbage trucks make their rounds to clear the bins at night in order to avoid traffic. I'm sure you've seen how much waste your own household produces in a given week. Now imagine all the trash produced by all the households in Baltimore. It's a lot, right? It may surprise you that this amount is only marginal compared to commercial waste. Yep, the main waste producers are actually businesses, industrial facilities, retail and offices. Hard to believe humans produce that much waste, right? No wonder we have pollution problems. Anyway, after all incoming waste is sorted, recyclables are sent to a recycling plant, while garbage and toxic waste are transported to their respective areas of the plant for treatment. Items such as stones, which should not be disposed of in our bins, are separated out and discarded. Once the trash has undergone the treatment process, it is compacted and disposed of with all the other trash. And finally, when the landfill space is full, it is buried deep underground, and in time, something new is built on the land. That's everything about waste collection. Thank you for listening. Are there any questions?
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to Section 3. Section 3. You will hear a conversation between two senior students who have to organize a competition for the University Open Day. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 27. Listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 27.
Hi, Grant. What sort of competition do you think we should organize?
Well, Claire, the Open Day Committee was pretty clear on that. It must be something with youth appeal.
That makes sense. After all, most of the visitors will have just left high school.
Yeah, so I was thinking technology?
Do you mean something which uses the latest technology, like an iPod?
Something like that, but a bit more expensive maybe.
What about the latest iPhone? I'm saving up for one right now.
Let's make it an iPad. I wish I'd had a tablet computer when I started university.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That should get a lot of our younger visitors interested.
Right. Let's go with that then.
Fine. We could go into town now and buy it. I saw great deals advertised at the Rick Smith store.
Oh, I don't think we'll have to worry about that. A university purchase order will probably be arranged through the Resources and Supplies section.
Well, that's settled then. What about the competition? Is it going to be a game of skill or a guessing game or something else?
What do you think would work best?
Good question. I don't think it should be anything too hard or anything that will make the visitors look silly. Some of them have such fragile egos.
True. So something that anyone can do. Nothing competitive, no skill or intelligence involved.
That's right. but the main thing is that the contestants have a lot of fun.
How do we do that?
Well, I was thinking of a popular TV series, science fiction or science fantasy. I don't actually know the difference.
Go on.
It's a series where in every episode the main characters step through a portal into another world or another era.
What's a portal?
It's like a gateway or entrance to something.
Okay, I get it. They'll be stepping into the new world of tertiary learning. So somehow we encourage people to step through this portal. Then what?
They get their photo taken.
Is that all?
Not exactly. Let me think.
I can't see how that's a competition, unless we pick the best photograph. But there's not much excitement or involvement in that for the participants.
Wait. We don't decide on the winner. I mean, no one person does. We get them, the public, to do it.
How?
Put all the photos on Facebook, and the one with the most votes wins.
I agree. Good idea. But there's just one more thing I'm not clear about. How do we get hold of a portal?
I was thinking graduates of the engineering department could construct it as part of their contribution to Open Day.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 28 to 30. Now, listen and answer questions 28 to 30.
How do visitors enter the competition on Open Day?
Well, firstly, they have to make their way to the portal photo booth on campus.
Okay. A bit like a treasure hunt to start with.
Yes, and then they get their photo taken stepping through the portal.
And they'll have to write down their details. You know, name, phone number, email. No, hang on. Let's keep it simple. Just name and email address should do.
Then after, say, the 30th of July, people can visit the university Facebook page and vote for their favorite photo.
So the photo with the most votes wins.
Yes, I think that should generate quite a bit of interest.
What about a cutoff date?
Of course, maybe, the most popular photo as of 5 p.m. on the 10th of August will collect the iPad.
And the winner will be notified by email.
And the winning photo will be enlarged and published in full color on the university Facebook page.
That is the end of Section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to Section 4. Section 4. You will hear part of a lecture about public speaking. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40. It is only natural to feel somewhat nervous before giving a speech, and while a few nerves never did any harm, and can in fact prove beneficial, letting your nerves overcome you can be detrimental. Today's presentation will focus on ways to control those butterflies and help you to give better presentations in future. First and foremost, you've got to know your material. I can't stress that enough. If you fail to prepare, you might as well prepare to fail. Even the most experienced speakers never turn up unprepared and never try to wing it. Personalize your subject and use humour, anecdotes and conversational language. This will make it easier for you to remember what you want to say. Secondly, practice, practice, practice. Rehearse well in advance and preferably out loud and with all the equipment you plan on using. Practice your timing, when to pause and when to breathe, and prepare for the unexpected. Something always goes wrong, especially when you're relying on technology, so always have a backup plan. Get to know your audience before you have to stand up in front of them. Meet and greet them on the way in, perhaps. It is much easier to talk to a group of friends than a group of strangers. And, just as importantly, know your room as well. Arrive early, pace the speaking area, and practice using the microphone and visual aids. The hardest part is trying to relax. Never rush straight into your speech. Begin slowly and address the audience first. In fact, even before you start, take a few deep breaths. You know, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. This will turn your nervous energy into enthusiasm. Visualization can be a great confidence booster. Visualize yourself making the speech in the way that you intend. Imagine your voice loud and confident, and picture the audience clapping and rooting for you. Remember, people want you to succeed. The audience wants to hear an interesting and insightful speech. They aren't hoping you make a fool of yourself. Whatever you do, avoid making unnecessary apologies. If you make a mistake or two, forget about it. Few will notice, and it will all be forgotten before too long. People often forget the importance of body language. Don't underestimate this. Your words carry far less meaning than your delivery. Success is defined by your intonation and confidence. If you come across as a confident person, people will listen to you. You will command their attention. Stand tall and proud and deliver with conviction. Humans are very bad listeners. We remember less than 25% of what is said and place far more emphasis on how it is said. Last of all, be realistic and give yourself a chance. No one becomes the perfect speaker overnight. It takes time to hone your presentation skills. That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.